Oh, hey my darlings, I think I'm live. I'm live. Hello. Well, let me tilt this because the light's a bit funny today. There we go. I am talking about something really personal today. So hope you're all well. Oh, look, the light's going really strange. Let me turn a little bit. I hope you're all well, and I'm talking about something that I've never talked about before, actually. So normally when I teach my classes, I'm really conscious not to talk about my own birth, because I think that you know, it's not about my birth. It's about my clients and supporting them and finding the right way for them, and that's going to be different for everybody. Everybody wants, you know, a different birth. It's going to make different birth choices, and I'm really conscious not to put my you know, what I would want onto other people, because I don't think that's helpful or right. So I don't normally talk about my birth experience at all when I teach. I mean, occasionally I might say a few words if someone asks me, but I normally just say, yeah, so it was a really positive experience, and you know, I stop there generally. So I'm going to talk to you guys probably for about 10-15 minutes today. Actually feel a little bit emotional actually about my own experience, and really most importantly the things that were very helpful for me, and maybe some of those if you're expecting a baby or you have friends that are expecting, they can you know, extrapolate some of that. Maybe some of that would be helpful for them to know. So I think I was thinking about it that over the last week or so, because it was my daughter's birthday, and actually she's 9 now, so she's quite big. She's like, you know, a really real person, but I'm sure this is the same for lots of mums. When your kids, their birthdays roll around on the day, you'll often end up thinking about the birth. Which is what I was doing, and so I thought, yeah, okay, let's share, you know, let's share a little bit. So there's 3 things I think I was thinking that really contributed to my experience being massively positive, and they're 3 things I think that everybody can incorporate in their own way into their birth, you know, definitely. So the first thing, I think, which was a really big factor in me having actually a very short birth. So for a first baby, it's not common to have a birth that lasts 3 hours. It's really uncommon, actually. It's that's the, I don't know, 1 in 50, maybe 1 in 100, I don't know, something like that. Normally it's, you know, the average is 12 hours, and that's from being 4 centimetres dilated already, so not including all of the early labour. I think hypnobirthing mums often, they're a bit shorter, 8 hours, 7, 6 maybe, but not 3. 3's pretty crazy quick. I didn't know that at the time, because I wasn't a midwife when I had my daughter 9 years ago. I was doing a degree, something completely different. I was right in the middle of my degree, and actually my circumstances were very lucky in a way. So the first thing that really contributed to, I think, the shortness of my labour was how active I was. So I was doing a degree and I was working part-time as well as a waitress. And anyone who's ever worked as a waitress will know it's quite a physical job. You're walking for hours, actually, and you're carrying things, and your pelvis is moving, the ligaments and the muscles are all working. And I remember I finished the second year of my degree probably in the June, and Jazz wasn't born till November. So I worked all summer, July, August, September, October, finished in October, I think. 4 months, I pretty much worked full time. I think I was working 4 days a week as a waitress, maybe 6 hours, 5 hours every day, being really, really active. And I'm really sure that that had a massive impact on the length of my labour. So I'm not saying, ladies, go and get a part-time job as a waitress. No. But staying active in the pregnancy is so important. And sometimes that's really hard if you're not feeling well, particularly in the first trimester. You might be feeling nauseous. You can be so tired. So in my first trimester, I remember being incredibly exhausted. I just didn't want to move. You know, I was asleep by 7 p.m, 6 p.m, you know, I'd get home and I'd need to sleep. So it's not easy. But hopefully most of you ladies, the energy's going to return in the second and third trimester, and you'll feel that energy come back. You won't be feeling, most mums won't be feeling as sick or won't be feeling sick at all. And getting in that activity is so important. And that can be, you can do it differently. So maybe you'll want to go to a nice yoga class or a Pilates class for pregnancy. You know, yoga is amazing, really, really amazing for pregnancy and birth preparation. I recommend it very, very highly. You might be able to go to a class once or twice a week. Amazing. Or maybe if you're a bit strapped for cash, you're doing a DVD at home, still fantastic, you know, amazing. Trying to walk whenever you can. So it doesn't mean that you're doing what I was doing, you know, walking 4 or 5 hours in a go. That's probably a little much. But perhaps you can walk to work half an hour, or you can, you know, I'm in London, so everyone's getting the tube. Can you get off the tube one stop early and just walk 15 minutes to work, something like that? That's all brilliant stuff. So doing it in your own way, whatever is good for you, is fantastic. Keeping the pelvis moving and supple is key. It's really, really key. Things like squats and lunges are brilliant. So I can't remember exactly the phrase, but Ina May said something like, if you do 100 squats a day, then you will have a short birth. And I think there's probably a lot of truth in that. So keeping that activity is great. At the end, so I did, I think I went off of work 4 weeks before around my due date. And in that time, I was still walking quite a lot, much more slowly, I must say. There was a much slower pace. And I remember going swimming as well. And I swam right up until, I think, a couple of days before Jazz arrived. And that, I think that really helped. So everyone's going to do it in their own way, but thinking consciously, ladies, thinking about how can you get some activity in. If you can, a little bit every day, every other day, you know, something a little bit more, a couple of times a week, it's going to be fantastic. I see as a midwife, the mums who are fit, generally quite fit and active, as a rule of thumb, yeah, they have quicker births. Not everyone, of course, but many, many, many. So it's a big one, I would say. So that's the first thing. The second thing I think that really contributed to my positive experience, and this might be partly how quick it was itself as well, the length of the birth, and also how in the zone I was. So I remember when labour started, well actually my waters broke around I think 6 in the morning, and we called the midwife. The midwife came and just checked me over, everything was well. She said if you had any contractions, and I was like, no, not really, a little bit of, you know, achiness, nothing major. And she was like, no, that's not gonna do it. I was like, okay. Then I think I had my first surge of contraction at 10 o'clock in the morning. So my body was starting to think about it. To be very graphic, ladies, I'm telling you all the details. When I had that first surge, it was very powerful, and my body, as a response to that really powerful surge, it meant that I had to go to the loo, and I had a bit of diarrhea, and actually I was sick as well. So my body was just going, oh no, get everything out. That was quite quick, and then I rested. There was nothing for half an hour, and after that, that's when my surges kicked in. And actually from the beginning, so it was around 10:30 in the morning, from the beginning my surges were strong and regular and long, and they started off every 4 minutes from the beginning. So when I teach my classes, I often say, ladies, you're either going to be the lady who starts off, you know, regular from the beginning, it's going to be the surges are coming with that pattern, or you're more likely to be the lady that starts off with a really slow, gentle build, surges every half an hour for 10 seconds, then getting more regular and more powerful, and have a plan. What's my phone? Oops. Have a plan for that. But I was the first lady, regular from the word go, you know, 10:30, bam, powerful. And they were quite intense for me. I mean, for everyone it's different. For many mums it's going to start off gently and build. But for me, for the first one at 10 o'clock, and then from the second one at 10:30, it was powerful. And I think the second thing that really helped me massively was that I had planned a home birth. So I'd known from before I was pregnant that I always wanted to have a home birth. That felt to me like the right place to birth. It felt safe. I'd grown up with my mother telling me that when she was pregnant with us, she felt that she could have given birth in a field, and that would have been, you know, positive and safe and good. And this is in the 70s and 80s. So not a common place to birth then, still not a common place to birth now. But I'd really grown up with this very, very positive outlook that birth was natural and healthy, and that we designed to birth, and what else? And that I could do it, really, that I could do it. So I knew that I wanted to birth at home, and I think that was a massive factor for me. So I didn't want to do the travel into the hospital. I felt safe at home. That was the right place for me. It was very relaxed, you know. It's in my flat, which I still live in now, in my living room, actually, that I'm in right now, just over there, about a metre away from where I'm sat. You know, it was a very safe space for me. So what that meant was, for me, my adrenaline was, you know, down, low, 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 low. My birth hormones, oxytocin and endorphins, they were really flowing, because there was nothing in my space that was making me feel unsafe. You know, it was brilliant. Now, I'm not saying that home birth is right for everybody. That's not true. You know, for some people with complex medical histories or anything like that, issues to do with the baby or mum, it's wise to be in the hospital. But I would say that, ladies, if you are a healthy woman with a very straightforward pregnancy, if it's the first baby, or if you had a straightforward birth last time for the second, you know, home birth could be a good option for you. And it's worth doing a little bit of research and reading about it, to figure that out, you know, to see if that feels right for you. Don't rule it out until you've explored your options. And there's many positives to home birth. including feeling safe and relaxed, being in your own environment, not having to do the travel into hospital, which can really mess around with your birth hormones, potentially slow things down a bit. You get to shower in your own shower, you get to go to bed in your own bed, have a cup of tea, and the midwives are really on your terms. They're coming into your space, they're respecting your environment, they're asking you if they can have a cup of tea rather than you asking them how things work. And I think that can be really a positive, fantastic thing. So have a think about it. If it's something that you've considered and you'd like to know more, then there was a great study called the home birth study done in 2012. I think if you Google it, you'll get lots of information. And it shows how safe home birth is, and that it reduces the chance of having an intervention like an epidural or birthing by forceps, ventouse or cesarean. So it's a good thing to consider. And the third thing, I think, which is probably the most important thing and probably the biggest factor for most women, was my mindset. So I think that your mindset can have a massive impact on your birth experience, and that can be physiological, so what actually happens in terms of how long your birth is and you know how you find that, but also not just physiologically, but you know you can have two births that are the same outcome, but you can experience them very differently depending on your mindset. You know, you can look at the same events very, very differently, and that's really, really interesting. So the thing that I had going on mindset was I had grown up, I was lucky, I'd grown up with that kind of normalising of birth. Not everybody will have that. So some people will have grown up with quite negative birth stories, maybe from your mum, from your family, experiences of people around you. And so you might have some, you know, some work to do to get through that. And that can be quite challenging. You know, it takes time and effort. What else? So I had no fear going into birth. I really had no fear. And that's partly, you know, luck, a little bit to do with the stories that I'd grown up with, but a lot of it was also to do with the way that I'd approached my birth. So when I found out that I was pregnant, I started to really engage with the positive stuff. So I didn't read everything. This is back in 2008, guys, so things were a bit different. Internet was a lot more patchy. No internet on the phone back then, no scrolling. So I read a couple of books through the pregnancy. I've got one of them. Is it here? I should have grabbed it. One of them was a really, really old book that was written in the 70s. And actually my best friend from school, Sally, her mum had put it in the post to me, and she had said, this is something that I read when I was pregnant with my kids, and you know, maybe this will be helpful for you. And it was just normalising birth, so really reinforcing what I thought already. Lots of positive stories, and it was by Sheila Kitzinger, who some of you will know. Sheila Kitzinger is an amazing woman. You know, she's now passed away, but she's written a lot of work around empowering women through childbirth and normalising birth, and an incredible feminist. So, so I read that. And that led me on to read a book by Ina May Gaskin, who is an incredible midwife, still working now. She's an older lady now, but she set up this incredible incredible space in America, again in the 60s, 70s, 80s, where childbirth became a normal event, and lots and lots of women were encouraged to experience normal childbirth in whatever position they wanted, supported by the community, supported by their family, and it was such an inspiring read. I've still got it here. That, yeah, it completely supported my mindset. So instead of going, as you could do now, and you'd be Googling everything, and you'll end up, nowadays, ladies, if you Google, you end up in one of those dark virtual holes where you think, how did I even get here? Possibly on like a NetMums thread, or, you know, a forum somewhere where you really, you know, you're reading people's experiences, which are valid, you know, it's their experience, but you're then taking all of that in, and you've got no filter. So I think being very, very conscious with your mindset in pregnancy is massively important and very empowering. So actively thinking about what you're reading some good books. I'm going to do actually a post maybe next week, my favourite books. I've got 3 or 4 favourite books at the moment, which are amazing. They've, a lot of them, 2 or 3 of them came out in the last year or 2, and they're great. So I'll do that. So engaging with what you're taking in, and yeah, being conscious, being really conscious with your mindset. So the things that I did in my pregnancy, I did read a hypnobirthing book as well, so I learnt the breathing techniques. Definitely, they really helped me, but probably the mindset was more important. So if your mindset is great and you don't have fear, when labour starts, what happens is you really just turn off your brain and you hand over the reins to your body, and your body pretty much knows, you know, in most cases it knows what it's doing, and it will do the job for you. But I think in modern life, more and more and more, we're not used to doing that, particularly if you live in a city. You're always on the go, you're always thinking, very much in control, and it's quite hard to do that, actually, to turn off your brain and let your body take over. So yeah, I learnt the breathing. It was very good for relaxation. So I did know how to relax. I'd relearnt how to relax. I had a great mindset. The things that I used as well, I was using kind of conscious intentions and affirmations. So I remember being quite heavily pregnant in the bath or on the sofa, and visualising my birth. So I was thinking about what I wanted my birth to feel like. You know, spend 15-20 minutes imagining the feelings, imagining my daughter manoeuvring down through my body, and really engaging with that, allowing myself to think that it could be good and positive. And my intent was very clear. I was going to birth at home. I wasn't going to have an epidural. I didn't want that. And I think that was quite powerful for me. So I'm not saying that you can control everything. Obviously, biologically, sometimes things happen, like high blood pressure, you know, or baby does a great big poo inside. You can't control that stuff, ladies, and that's special circumstances. But you can have a clear intention with what you want, and I think don't be afraid to do that, because that's really quite powerful. Visualization has an impact on outcomes as well. Again, you can't control, but you can influence. So I think that was massive. I remember I did go to an antenatal class in pregnancy. Again, it's 9 years ago. It was a hospital class, and it was just really giving information about what pain relief you could have. So back then it was, you know, same as it is now, gas and air, pethidine, at the hospital, epidural, and I went and I, you know, listened, and I knew that wasn't for me. So we're a lot more lucky now. We've got a lot more classes. Hypnobirthing's gone pretty mainstream. You know, we've got the NCT, which gives you tons of information. Very, very good. So I think those are the main things, guys. So thinking about it, the things that really impacted my birth were definitely being super active, which encouraged her to be in a great position, which made I was fit, my muscles were strong. Planning a home birth. So again, environment was safe, supporting my hormones, supporting the oxytocin, endorphins, parasympathetic nervous system, reducing the adrenaline, which was important. And the third thing was my mindset, which was probably the biggest thing. So no fear, feeling calm and relaxed with my breathing techniques. My intention was very clear. So I think that those are things that you can apply to your birth no matter what's going on. So even if you're someone who's got quite actually a high risk pregnancy because, you know, maybe you've got diabetes or there's something going on with baby, you can still, within reason, most people can stay active unless you're specifically on bed rest. You may not be planning a home birth, but how can you actually bring all of those things into your hospital birth? So thinking about lights, music, smells, comfort, you know, taking in your own pillow, a nice flannel to put over you that makes you feel, you know, cozy. Little electric candles can be nice, and relaxing music in the background. So you're starting to frame the birth environment as something lovely. Delicious snacks, you know, all of that stuff is great. And the mindset, which is the biggest job, you know, that's where hypnobirthing really comes in. The mindset to release the fear, build the confidence. How can you do that? Read a book, watch a great YouTube hypnobirth, listen to some hypnobirthing hypnosis tracks, really engage with the positive, you know, take a class, whatever's right for you. So much that you can do, ladies, consciously, to really get yourself there. Whew, that was a lot of talking. I think because I've never shared that before, I was very excited to share, which it's been a real pleasure, ladies, to share. And if you know any mums who are expecting and maybe need a little bit of support, you can tag them below, and you know, maybe they'll get some tips, 1 or 2 things that they can do in their pregnancy to help them get into that really great space so that they can experience, you know, really positive birth, you know, which is why I'm a midwife, guys. I had my daughter, an amazing experience, and I thought, oh, this is good. And then I finished my degree and did another one, trained to be a midwife straight off when Jazz was about one and a half, which is why I'm here now. So having a good birth can really, really change your life in an amazing way. I'm going to sign off, but I will see you again soon. And I think next week I'll do a video on my favourite birth books, the ones that I think are amazing. So I'll see you then.